Greetings survivors and friends, SHADOWFRAX here with your latest dollop of Rust nonsense, and today we're talking big meta shifts including new traps, dropping all sorts of crap from drones, loot reshuffles, and some more images of floating cities and small islands. But first, as mentioned in the last vid, the naval update's being pushed back to November, and instead October's patch will concentrate on shaking up the game in a few areas. And raise your hands if you were around in 2015 and remember the old blueprint frag system. Man, that's a throwback. Well, it's coming back, kind of, but only in relation to workbenches. One shift this next patch will probably see tier 2 and 3 workbenches requiring players to collect blueprint frags. In order to craft them, you'll need to find 5 basic BP frags or damage diagrams to craft a tier 2 bench and 5 advanced ones or precision schematics to craft a tier 3. You'll still also need other materials to craft benches as per, but the scrap cost might be getting lowered. This hasn't been merged to staging just yet, so we don't have all the details such as where you'll find these exactly, but we do know from the commits that elite crates will have a chance for advanced frags, and hackable crates will always contain them. Also, as a side note, the chance to find MLRS ammo in elite crates is being lowered. The basic reasoning behind this change is to slow down progression by creating more of a barrier to progressing through workbench tiers than just having enough scrap, but this is all highly subject to change, and other options are on the table if this doesn't work out. A new small spike trap's been added on staging. A small improvided trap, apparently. Not sure what that means. It looks like it'll be a default BP, costing only 80 wood to craft, even though it's clearly metal, and much more compact than standard spikes, allowing for sneakier and denser placement. A new rare shore crate will be spawning in tier 0 areas. This currently looks like just a standard ration crate. Not sure if that will change, and I'm told the loot will be more or less the same, just basic supplies. There's also a fairly significant change coming to wooden barricades, with the stack size going down to 3 and the HP decreasing from 120 to just 80. Loot's being reshuffled in a number of monuments in this next patch too. These haven't all been merged to staging yet, but to give you a run through of the current reworks, the launch site will have more loot spawn variations with a few new possible locations. The elite loot is unaffected though, the airfield seeing all of its loot spawns moved around and respawning in higher quantities, with Diesel being behind the puzzle now. The water treatment plant sees loot locations shuffled and Diesel again behind the puzzle. Train yard, loot locations shuffled and more added, plus a fix that was preventing some spawning. The satellite dish has had all its crate spawns switched to tier loot, which means that better loot will spawn if the monument's in a tier 1 or tier 2 area of the map. The small oil rig will no longer spawn in tier 0 areas, and the junkyard will also have better loot if it's in a tier 1 area instead of tier 0. There may well be more tweaks to come, and we should have a better idea next week. Now, this next change is enormous, and that is that now on staging, player drones are being given a single storage slot that will enable you to drop whatever the drone is carrying. Just let that sink in. Because not only is this useful for delivering supplies or a weapon to a friend, but it can also be used to deliver something to a not friend. Because yes, currently grenades, B-nades, C4, etc, etc, etc are all perfectly acceptable forms of cargo, and stacks are allowed too. You can even put a drone inside a drone. I'm pretty sure this is how Skynet starts. To use, simply find the storage slot at the bottom of the drone and shove whatever you want in there. When in flight, the drone will show that it has a drop ready, and left-clicking will get it to release its payload, one at a time in the case of a stack of grenades, say. More Amazon crime than Amazon Prime. You'll also be able to see that a drone has something on board with a package showing underneath it. There are some caveats to this though. Auto turrets and SAM sites will fire on non-authorized drones. Marketplace ones are ignored, of course, and the contents will drop when they're destroyed. As far as I can see at the moment, you can put pretty much any single item or stack of items into a drone, and assuming this stays as it is and doesn't get nerfed into oblivion, what are your thoughts on this change, and what would you do with it? Now, imagine my shock when I saw Alistair tweet that apparently people are already bitching about some of these changes on Reddit of all places. Mental. And staying with Twitter, there's an interesting post also from Alistair regarding reports that performance has taken a bit of a nosedive recently, with a noticeable one around the beginning of August. This will be addressed also this month, so we'll see if they can get things back up to the blistering frame rates that you're used to. Watch this space. Some new picks from the deep sea in a moment, but first let's look at some other changes coming in the commits in no particular order. Bears now harvest for 20 meat instead of 19. That's 5% meat inflation right there. There's a couple of new admin commands. First, fill mounts will spawn and mount a player to anything that's mountable in a radius around you, and enable marker teleport, which is extremely useful and will teleport you to a place on the map instantly with right click instead of placing a marker. There's a fix for being able to see name tags through water. Commands run by admins will be recorded in a new log file which will give you the who's and the what's, but probably not the why's. You have to ask those yourself. There's a fix for not being able to pick up gifted sleeping bags on tugboats and in shelters. There's more work on crosshair customization from the recent hack week, so that might be happening. Fluorescent wall lights should be able to grow plants now, and a load of hardcore mode convars are being added for server owners, which is an awesome change because you will now be able to add specific features to non-hardcore mode servers such as Fog of War and needing a compass, because I know a few of you were gagging for this. As shown last week, bicycle bunny hopping's being worked on, limited to 1 hop every 3 seconds. You'll have to be on the ground and not waterlogged and have at least 10% sprint left. Oh yes, and there's a commit regarding making eggs throwable. Humanity's greatest weapon, the omelette. Excellent. And a branch popped up just today called Volcano Stuff, which includes not just work on a volcano, but also lava modding cubes, floor is lava maps, etc, etc, etc. What a time to be burnt alive. So now we come to what's on the horizon in November, and unless you've been living in a barnacle-encrusted chest for the last few months, you'll know that the naval update is en route to splash down with a massive amount of extra content, and I have a few new picks for you now. In brief, the plan is to have a new separate area, a separate map, if you like, called the Deep Sea, which will be accessible by sailing off the map, and this place will be home to floating cities, which, as you can see here, will include what looks to be called the Poop Deck Casino, Vegas of the Sea. Personally, I would have called it something like Squid Pro Quo or Reel of Fortune, perhaps even Ship Happens, but that's just me. There's also apparently going to be a food market and a weapon vendor. But in addition to man-made cities, there will be small scattered islands around, which sadly I'm told you won't be able to build on. There will also be scientist patrol boats and ghost ships, but important to note, every so many hours, subject to change, the deep sea area will wipe independent to the main map, and the loot there will respawn with the weather deteriorating the closer to deep sea wipe time you get. As mentioned previously, all of this will be facilitated by the new boat building mechanic, and here you can see a basic player vessel with sails and cannons, although this is very rough and I'm sure it'll be made ship shape and Bristol fashion by the time November rolls around. Anyway, them's the changes so far, but I'm sure more's to come this month from the team, and I'll bring it to you as soon as I get it, so do stay tuned and tell me what you think in the comments down below. Right, you are up to date. Leave a like and a sub. Join me on all my socials and my Steam group, and feel free to support my work here via YouTube memberships. Super thanks, all my Patreon. Links are all below. I'll catch you all soon, but in the meantime, keep calm and stay rusty. Cheerio. What a time to be burnt alive.